They disrespect you, most people fight back and lose. You stay silent and suddenly you hold all the power. When someone disrespects you, most people have a natural urge to respond immediately. That urge is deeply ingrained. It's a fight or flight reaction wired into the human brain over thousands of years. When someone challenges us, insults us, or crosses a boundary, the amygdala, the part of the brain that detects threat, instantly triggers a spike in emotion. Anger, embarrassment, or anxiety floods in, and the body demands an immediate reaction. For many, that reaction comes out as arguing, shouting, defending themselves, or trying to prove a point. The problem with reacting immediately is that it hands over control to the other person. Once you respond in the heat of the moment, you have already entered their frame. You are reacting to their behavior, not controlling the situation. They initiated the emotional script, and you followed it. In short, reacting instantly signals vulnerability, lack of control, and lower status in the social dynamic. The first and most powerful silent move is learning to pause deliberately. When someone disrespects you, taking a moment of silence before responding isn't just hesitation. It is a calculated strategy that shifts the psychological power back to you. That pause is more than a few seconds of not speaking. It is a signal to your brain and theirs that you are in control of your emotions, that you are unshackable, and that you decide the terms of engagement. The effect on the other person is profound. Humans are wired to crave social feedback and approval. When someone expects a reaction and doesn't get one, it creates a cognitive dissonance in their mind. Their brain starts asking, consciously or subconsciously, did I overstep? Did I make a mistake? Why isn't this person reacting? That internal questioning triggers anxiety and discomfort. They may feel exposed, foolish, or powerless without fully understanding why. The beauty of the cold pause is that it doesn't require confrontation, insult, or aggression. It's a silent demonstration of control. It communicates more power than a shouted argument ever could because it leaves the other person guessing and, importantly, it prevents them from reading your emotional state. When you stay silent, your internal calm becomes a weapon. It forces them to confront the fact that their attempt to provoke you has failed, which automatically elevates your perceived status in the interaction. Another crucial element of the cold pause is that it allows your brain to operate strategically rather than emotionally. When someone disrespects you, emotions can cloud judgment and lead to overreaction or unnecessary explanation. By pausing, you give yourself the opportunity to assess the situation clearly, who this person is, why they are being disrespectful, whether it is worth responding at all, and what response, if any, will maintain your dominance. The pause also prevents you from being predictable. People who react immediately are easy to manipulate because their responses can be anticipated. A measured pause creates uncertainty. Humans naturally dislike uncertainty, and when they don't know what you will do next, it increases the psychological weight of your presence. Even the act of a silent gaze during the pause has an effect. Looking at someone calmly while not responding can feel disarming. Eye contact paired with silence communicates that you see them fully, understand their intention, and yet choose not to engage emotionally. This combination of awareness and restraint conveys power, confidence, and self-control, which are core elements of psychological dominance. The length of the pause is also strategic. Too short, and it may appear as if you're processing before responding, which still gives them some leverage. Too long, and it could appear awkward or indecisive. The optimal pause is long enough to create discomfort, but short enough to maintain control of the social flow. It's about creating tension that makes them uneasy while keeping yourself composed and unshaken. Over time, mastering the cold pause trains your own emotional resilience. By consistently practicing silence in moments of disrespect, your nervous system learns not to trigger reactive responses immediately. Your self-control becomes automatic, and with it, your presence naturally commands attention. People begin to respect your reactions, or lack thereof, because it signals that you are not easily manipulated, that your value does not depend on external approval, and that emotional provocations hold no sway over you. In many social hierarchies, Those who are reactive are automatically viewed as lower status because they are influenced by the actions of others. Those who are calm, composed, and deliberate, on the other hand, are perceived as leaders, as people whose inner state is independent of external pressures. The cold pause is not about being rude or passive-aggressive, it's about leveraging human psychology. Silence becomes a strategic tool, a non-verbal statement of control. While others scramble to dominate the conversation or prove their point, you remain untouchable, and the silence itself communicates more than words ever could. It is subtle, yet powerful. People will often try again or escalate after a pause, attempting to elicit the reaction you withheld. Every failed attempt at provocation reinforces your dominance. Each moment of maintained calm becomes a silent assertion that you are in charge of yourself, your emotions, and the interaction itself. With repetition, this strategy does more than just control a single moment, it changes the way people perceive you overall. They start to associate your presence with confidence, emotional stability, and authority. The cold pause may seem simple, but its psychological effect is magnified exponentially in a world where instant reactions and emotional outbursts are the norm. It is the ultimate silent weapon, the first step in mastering the subtle power dynamics of respect and influence. Attention is one of the most powerful currencies in human interactions, yet most people spend it carelessly, giving it away to anyone who seeks it. When someone disrespects you, their goal is almost always the same. They want a reaction. They want to pull you into their emotional orbit, to prove superiority, to feed their ego at your expense. Many people fall into the trap of giving them exactly what they want: immediate responses, explanations, or defensive arguments. What they fail to realize is that by responding, they are investing their energy into someone else's frame instead of maintaining control over their own. The second silent power move, withdrawing attention, is deceptively simple, but its psychological impact is profound. By consciously limiting the energy, focus, and engagement you give to someone who disrespects you, you create a shift in the social hierarchy without ever raising your voice. Humans are wired for social feedback. We crave it. From early childhood, approval from peers, family, and authority figures conditions us to seek attention as a form of validation. When that attention is withheld strategically, it triggers a natural discomfort. The brain notices the absence of the expected response, and suddenly the person who intended to provoke or manipulate you begins to experience an internal tension. This tension is not trivial. It activates the same brain regions associated with pain. Social rejection, even subtle forms like being ignored or receiving minimal engagement, triggers a neurochemical reaction that mimics physical pain. It creates unease, uncertainty, and even anxiety. By withdrawing attention, you are not only protecting your emotional energy, but also activating a psychological lever that can shift the balance of power. The act of minimal engagement, short, neutral replies, avoiding eye contact, not reacting emotionally, is a tool of influence. It communicates silently that your energy is valuable, that you are not easily manipulated, and that you are in control of the interaction. It forces the other person to evaluate themselves rather than you. Another critical aspect of this move is understanding the difference between passive ignoring and strategic withdrawal of attention. Passive ignoring can look weak or indecisive if it is inconsistent or unintentional. Strategic withdrawal, however, is deliberate. It is calm, composed, and measured. You are fully aware of what is happening, and your non-reaction is intentional. This subtle difference is what makes the move psychologically powerful. People can sense authenticity. When someone's lack of reaction is deliberate, it signals that their attention is selective, that they do not invest in every minor provocation, and that they prioritize themselves over the emotional demands of others. The selective nature of attention inherently increases perceived value. Think of it like social scarcity. People are naturally drawn to things that are limited, rare, or difficult to access. When your attention becomes something that is not freely given, you become more desirable, more intimidating, and more respected. Withdrawing attention also serves as a protective mechanism. By not engaging in unnecessary arguments or reactive behavior, you maintain control over your mental state. Emotional reactions can cloud judgment, lead to impulsive decisions, and often escalate conflict. By stepping back and limiting engagement, you preserve your clarity, composure, and strategic advantage. This move also teaches the other person a subtle but crucial lesson, that their behavior does not dictate your value or influence your emotional state. They may attempt to provoke again, but each failed attempt reinforces your dominance and demonstrates that your internal control is independent of their actions. Over time, this consistent approach reshapes how people perceive you. They begin to associate your presence with calm authority and emotional invulnerability. The more you practice withdrawing attention strategically, the more effortless it becomes, and the more powerful the effect on others. One of the most profound effects of this tactic is the way it amplifies your perceived self-worth. When you stop giving attention to disrespectful behavior, you are effectively signaling that your time, focus, and energy are not cheap. You are setting an invisible standard. If someone wants your engagement, they must earn it. This implicitly raises your value in the eyes of everyone around you, not just the person being silent tested. There is also a subtle psychological mechanism at play known as intermittent reinforcement. When someone is used to receiving attention from you and suddenly experiences a withdrawal, the scarcity creates a heightened desire to regain that attention. Humans are wired to seek rewards that are inconsistent or unpredictable because it creates a form of psychological tension. By withdrawing attention, you are not only protecting yourself, but also creating a dynamic where your engagement becomes something to be earned, rather than automatically given. In professional, personal, or social settings, this move allows you to maintain authority without confrontation. You do not need to escalate, argue, or assert dominance overtly, because the simple act of withholding engagement accomplishes the same effect in a far more subtle and lasting way. The person who expects to provoke a reaction finds themselves adjusting behavior, reassessing intentions, and experiencing a quiet pressure they may not even consciously recognize. In essence, withdrawing attention flips the power dynamic without a word spoken. It signals that you are not accessible on their terms, that your emotions are not a playground for their insecurities, and that you value yourself enough not to waste energy on attempts at disrespect. The most powerful part is that this tactic works across situations, whether in personal relationships, workplaces, or social circles. It leverages human social psychology, our innate desire for attention and validation, and the natural discomfort caused by social uncertainty. By consistently practicing this silent power move, you cultivate a presence that is respected, feared, and admired, all without confrontation or aggression. When someone disrespects you, most people instinctively raise their voice or speak faster, trying to prove their point or defend themselves. This reaction, though common, is a trap. Lewdness and haste signal emotional instability, a lack of control, and, ultimately, weakness in the context of social dominance. The third silent power move, lowering your voice, is deceptively simple, yet its psychological impact is profound. By intentionally speaking in a calmer, slower, and quieter tone, you communicate authority, control, and confidence in a way that words alone cannot achieve. The human brain is highly sensitive to tone and volume. When someone speaks loudly, it triggers a stress response in listeners, often creating tension or defensiveness. However, when someone speaks quietly and deliberately, it compels attention. Humans are wired to lean in, to subconsciously try to catch every word, especially when delivered with calm authority. A low, controlled voice is a signal that you are not emotionally threatened. It demonstrates that the interaction, no matter how provocative, does not disturb your inner state. In contrast, when people react with shouting or rapid speech, they are revealing that their equilibrium depends on external validation. The quieter you remain while speaking, the more it signals internal stability, and the more the other person unconsciously recognizes that they cannot easily manipulate or provoke you. Lowering your voice also has a subtle effect on perceived intelligence and competence. Studies in social psychology indicate that people associate a calm, measured tone with thoughtfulness, confidence, and leadership qualities. When you slow down your speech and reduce volume, it communicates that your words are deliberate, meaningful, and intentional. The other person may begin to perceive your responses as more authoritative simply because they feel that each word is carefully considered. Timing is critical in this technique. A pause before speaking, combined with a lower voice, increases the psychological weight of your words. It makes the listener feel the importance of what you are about to say, creating a natural tension that draws attention without the need for aggression. It also disrupts the typical power script. Someone who tries to disrespect you expects a reactive, emotional response. When that expectation is violated, when you respond slowly, quietly, and deliberately, their mental framework is challenged. This disruption forces them to reassess the situation, often creating subtle anxiety or confusion, which works in your favor. There is also a physiological element to lowering your voice. Speaking quietly engages your diaphragm and promotes a controlled, steady breath. This type of breathing naturally reduces the body's stress response, lowering heart rate and cortisol levels. As a result, you maintain composure even in tense interactions, which amplifies the perception of calm authority. The combination of physiological control and social signaling is a powerful form of silent influence. Another dimension is emotional contagion. Humans unconsciously mirror the emotional energy of those around them. If you remain calm and lower your voice, your emotional stability subtly influences the other person, often calming them or forcing them to match your tempo. This mirroring gives you control over the emotional flow of the interaction, letting you guide the dynamics without confrontation or argument. A low voice also signals restraint and self-control. By choosing not to yell or match aggression with aggression, you demonstrate mastery over impulses. People are instinctively drawn to those who can regulate their emotions because it signals higher status and strength. In contrast, reactive individuals appear vulnerable because their inner state depends on the external environment. This move also has long-term implications for social perception. Consistently responding to provocations with a calm, low voice conditions others to respect you. They learn that attempts to manipulate or disrespect you are ineffective because they do not disrupt your emotional state. Over time, this establishes a reputation of unshakable authority. Strategic use of a lower voice also allows you to communicate subtle dominance through non-verbal cues. The way your voice interacts with pauses, gaze, and body language creates a full spectrum display of control. For example, speaking softly while maintaining steady eye contact, relaxed posture, and deliberate gestures reinforces the perception of power. It signals that you are fully present, fully aware, and not intimidated, which is more intimidating than aggression. In professional settings, this technique is particularly effective because it conveys confidence without aggression. Leaders who speak calmly, even in tense situations, are often perceived as more competent and reliable. In social or personal interactions, the same principle applies. A controlled, low voice communicates that your value is inherent and not dependent on the approval or behavior of others. This silent power move is also psychologically liberating for you. By lowering your voice and slowing your speech, you step out of the reactive cycle that many people fall into. You reclaim mental energy, reduce stress, and maintain clarity. You are no longer participating in someone else's drama, you are guiding the interaction on your terms. It is a subtle, almost invisible form of dominance that few people notice consciously, but everyone feels subconsciously. The power of a lowered voice is magnified when paired with other silent moves, such as pausing, withdrawing attention, or setting boundaries. Each element reinforces the other, creating a composite effect that establishes unshakable authority without the need for shouting, arguing, or seeking approval. The most important aspect is consistency. Lowering your voice must be deliberate and repeated across interactions. Sporadic use can appear weak or inconsistent, but when used reliably, it transforms the way people perceive you, signaling calm authority, confidence, and psychological control that is impossible to provoke or undermine. Setting boundaries is one of the most misunderstood concepts in human interaction. Most people either avoid setting them entirely or over-explain themselves when they do. The truth is, boundaries are not a negotiation. They are a declaration of self-respect and an unspoken assertion of personal power. When someone disrespects you, their intent is often to push limits, test your patience, or gain leverage. They want to see how far they can go before you react. Many people respond to such behavior by over-explaining, apologizing, or attempting to justify themselves, which only signals weakness and invites further disrespect. The fourth silent power move, setting one clear boundary once, is a tactic that cuts through all of that noise. It is simple, decisive, and psychologically effective. The core principle is this: you state your boundary clearly, assertively, and without emotional embellishment, and then you do not repeat yourself. A boundary delivered once carries a weight that repetition can dilute. When you over-explain or repeat your limits, it signals that the boundary is negotiable, that your internal value depends on whether others accept it, or that you need validation to enforce it. Saying it once, calmly and firmly, communicates finality. It signals that your limits are absolute and that you do not require approval to enforce them. Consider the psychological impact of this approach. Humans are wired to notice consistency and decisiveness. When someone declares a boundary once and sticks to it, it sends a clear message. This person is in control of themselves, their values, and their emotional responses. It creates a subtle pressure on the person who is testing the boundary, because they now realize that their behavior has a predictable and non-negotiable consequence. The one-line boundary is more than words. It is a statement of internal authority. It signals that your respect is not for sale, that your emotional state is not up for debate, and that your energy is finite and protected. For example, a statement like, "I don't tolerate that," is brief, unemotional, and direct. It does not justify, explain, or beg for understanding. It is final. The brevity and clarity of the statement create a sense of power, because the other person cannot argue against it without revealing their own emotional vulnerability. The delivery of the boundary is just as important as the words themselves. Your tone must be calm, confident, and steady. Emotional intensity undermines authority because it signals that the boundary is linked to an unstable emotional state. A calm declaration communicates control, reinforces self-worth, and magnifies the psychological pressure on the person who tried to disrespect you. This tactic also leverages the principle of scarcity in social dynamics. When you set a boundary and enforce it once, it demonstrates that your time, attention, and energy are not freely available. People begin to recognize that crossing your limits has real consequences, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. The power of this approach lies in its simplicity and its non-reactivity. You do not need to punish, argue, or escalate. The boundary itself is enough to shift the dynamic. By not engaging further, you maintain your emotional composure while the other person is left to process their behavior and its consequences. Another layer of effectiveness comes from the psychological principle of finality. When humans perceive something as final, irreversible, or absolute, it triggers a subtle tension. People instinctively respect limits that appear non-negotiable. Repeating boundaries, defending them excessively, or allowing debate erodes this perception and diminishes your authority. By setting the boundary once and moving on, you create a silent assertion of dominance that is difficult to challenge. Consistency reinforces this effect over time. Each instance of setting a boundary once without repetition teaches others that your limits are serious and not subject to manipulation. This cultivates a reputation of strength, reliability, and self-respect. Others begin to recognize that attempts to provoke, manipulate, or disrespect you are futile, which reduces future incidents of boundary testing. It is also important to understand the internal psychological effect on yourself. By setting a boundary once and standing firm, you reinforce your own sense of value and autonomy. You no longer rely on external validation to dictate your emotional state. This internal alignment strengthens your presence, confidence, and overall social power. The approach works across personal, social, and professional contexts. In the workplace, a single, firm boundary can prevent colleagues from undermining you or overstepping your responsibilities. In personal relationships, it communicates that your needs and self-respect are non-negotiable, fostering healthier dynamics. In social interactions, it subtly elevates your status because people instinctively respect those who know and protect their limits without drama. Another key insight is that setting boundaries once reduces unnecessary conflict. Most arguments stem from repeated clarification or over-explaining. By keeping your statement clear, concise, and unemotional, you avoid getting drawn into a battle over validation or approval. The boundary itself does the work. It communicates the expectation and consequence without additional effort. This move also ties into broader psychological principles of dominance and social influence. People naturally respond to individuals who exhibit clarity, decisiveness, and self-regulation. A single, well-delivered boundary is a concentrated display of all three. It signals that you are aware of your value, that you are in control of your interactions, and that you do not tolerate disrespect. Over time, this approach creates a pattern that others recognize. Your boundaries are respected not because of threat or intimidation, but because of consistent, controlled demonstration of personal authority. Mastering this silent power move requires discipline, self-awareness, and confidence. It may feel uncomfortable at first because many people are conditioned to justify, explain, or apologize. But once you internalize the principle of stating a boundary once and not revisiting it, you will notice a profound shift in how others interact with you, how they perceive your value, and how they respond to attempts at provocation. It is a strategy that combines psychological insight, social influence, and emotional mastery into a single, simple action that communicates power far more effectively than arguments, shouting, or aggression. When someone disrespects you, the natural impulse is to react, to prove them wrong, to argue, or to justify yourself. Most people fall into this trap because they tie their self-worth to external validation. They seek approval, defend their position, or engage in conflict, inadvertently feeding the very person trying to undermine them. The fifth silent power move flips this dynamic completely. Instead of reacting emotionally, you act unbothered while simultaneously improving yourself. This move combines psychological mastery, social signaling, and personal growth, creating a form of silent intimidation that is far more effective than confrontation or aggression. Acting unbothered begins with emotional detachment. When someone insults you, challenges you, or disrespects your boundaries, they are often looking for an emotional response. They want to see anger, embarrassment, or frustration because it validates their attempt to assert dominance. By remaining unbothered, you deprive them of the reaction they seek. This is a subtle yet powerful form of control. Humans are wired to react to social cues, and when expected cues are absent, it creates a psychological imbalance. The person attempting to provoke you begins to question themselves. Why is this person not reacting? Are they aware of my behavior? Are they ignoring me on purpose? This internal questioning generates discomfort, subtly shifting the balance of power. Acting unbothered is not the same as being passive or disengaged. It is a conscious decision to maintain composure, to signal that your internal state is independent of external provocations. When combined with self-improvement, this tactic becomes almost Machiavellian in its effectiveness. Upgrading yourself, your skills, appearance, finances, health, or social influence, while remaining unbothered is a demonstration of power without words. The concept is simple. Instead of wasting energy trying to prove someone wrong in the moment, you invest that energy into increasing your value. Humans are naturally attuned to status and social hierarchy. When they see someone rise or improve in areas they value while remaining emotionally untouchable, it creates a psychological tension. They recognize that their disrespectful behavior has not only failed, but also coincided with your growth, making them feel smaller in comparison. This silent form of revenge is far more potent than confrontation because it operates on perception rather than conflict. People do not need to witness you attacking or criticizing them to feel intimidated. They feel it through your presence, accomplishments, and composure. Acting unbothered while upgrading yourself also reinforces your own self-confidence. When you focus on growth rather than external validation, your self-worth becomes intrinsic rather than conditional. You no longer seek approval from those who try to undermine you because your value is self-evident through your actions, achievements, and demeanor. This shift from reactive to proactive behavior is crucial. The more time you spend reacting to disrespect, the more energy you give away. The more energy you invest in upgrading yourself, the more control you maintain over your own life and the perceptions of others. The psychological principle at play here is the concept of indirect dominance. Direct confrontation can trigger resistance, defensiveness, or escalation. Indirect dominance, however, achieves the same outcome without aggression. By being unbothered and simultaneously increasing your social, professional, or personal value, you create an invisible hierarchy in which others naturally position themselves below you. This move also leverages the human tendency for social comparison. People constantly evaluate themselves relative to others. When they attempt to disrespect or provoke you, they are subconsciously assessing whether they hold higher status. By remaining composed and elevating yourself in visible ways, you force them to reassess their position and, often unconsciously, recognize your superior value. There is also a subtle element of scarcity in this strategy. When you are focused on upgrading yourself, you are, by necessity, selective about where and with whom you invest your attention. People notice this. Your attention, presence, and time become scarce commodities, which naturally increases perceived value. Those who tried to disrespect you realize that they cannot take your energy for granted, and this encourages respect without a single confrontational word. Acting unbothered while improving yourself requires discipline, patience, and foresight. It is not an immediate reaction but a long-term strategy. Results are compounded over time. Every incremental improvement, better health, enhanced skills, professional achievements, or refined social influence, amplifies the psychological effect on those who seek to undermine or disrespect you. Over time, your presence becomes synonymous with power, composure, and value. People learn consciously or subconsciously that attempts at disrespect are ineffective and that your worth cannot be diminished by their actions. This strategy is also protective. It allows you to maintain emotional stability and avoid unnecessary conflict. By focusing on personal growth and acting unbothered, you shield yourself from the drama and manipulation that often accompany attempts to provoke. This protects not only your mental health, but also your social influence, because others perceive you as unshakable and consistent. Another key aspect is subtle intimidation. Unlike aggression, which can provoke defensiveness or retaliation, acting unbothered combined with visible self-improvement creates a quiet, almost invisible intimidation. People feel your presence, your confidence, and your progress without you needing to assert dominance verbally or physically. This is the power of psychological influence. Control is demonstrated through composure and achievement, not conflict. In social and professional environments, this tactic is transformative. Those who disrespect you may initially assume weakness, but consistent application of acting unbothered while upgrading yourself reshapes their perception. They see that your value is independent of their attempts to provoke, and over time, they instinctively treat you with more respect. This creates a long-term shift in dynamics that is far more sustainable than temporary emotional victories gained through argument or confrontation. By combining emotional resilience with continuous personal growth, you establish a cycle of silent dominance. The more you act unbothered, the more energy you conserve, the more you invest in yourself, and the more others perceive your elevated value. This cycle reinforces itself, creating a presence that is respected, admired, and subtly feared without aggression or loud confrontation.